So today on my lunch break, I was just sitting and thinking about the new League patch that was coming up, because right now the preseason was just released with all the new patch changes for Season 6 that's coming soon, and I was actually feeling pretty overwhelmed by the amount of changes that were coming, and I was reading on Reddit people's thoughts and opinions on the new patches, all the updates and stuff, and I was thinking, wow, like, a lot of people are saying that they have to pretty much relearn jungle, which is the role that I play, and they feel like there's a lot of changes that are completely overhauling the pace of the gameplay. Like, the League matches are known to kind of drag on to maybe 45 minutes to an hour at some low rankings, and a lot of League, like, professional matches kind of last pretty long too. Like, I think the average was 35 minutes in Worlds. Like, that's pretty long. And a lot of people were saying that the match length was short to, like, HOTS length, like 20 to 25 minutes, and they were snowballing, and the whole entire pace of gameplay has changed, and the item building and the way that people were scaling, it was just crazy. So people actually felt like the game was a completely different game, and it just made me think, like, I just picked up League maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I basically spent all this time learning how to play the game, and now I have to pretty much relearn the entire thing. So I was just thinking about how a few years ago when I was in college or in high school, I actually loved stuff like this. I loved relearning the game. I loved spending time on forums and pretty much devoting my life to improving myself at these games. And I thought to myself, I don't have the time anymore to do this. I don't have the willpower to do this. I'm not even really that interested. Like, I'm the type of player where when I play something, I need to know why we do things, not just how to do it or what to do. I need to know why I'm doing something. So if I'm supposed to gank at level 3 on Rek'Sai, why am I doing that? And that's because it's a power spike, or because I have all 3 abilities and it's great for ganking. Like, I need to know why I do something. So throughout my years of competitive online play, one of the things I've always done was make sure that I do a lot of research. And ever since I got a full-time job, it's been a little bit more difficult to do that. So I thought about this topic today because I again realized that my opinion on it has actually done a complete 180. So I thought that it would be pretty interesting to kind of discuss it from both sides of the spectrum. So to start off, for years, I was always getting really mad at Blizzard every time that they would say, we can't change this because it's too major of a change. We have to wait for an expansion. Like, we can't revamp this spell or completely change the rotation because we don't want to overwhelm players. We can't separate PvE and PvP spells because it's going to overwhelm players. We can't do this. We can't do that. And I'm thinking to myself, who are these players that are playing these games, right? Like, here I am. I'm sitting in high school, college. I have all the time in the world to do whatever I want. And I'm getting kind of upset that my game is being dictated by people who won't put in the time or the effort or don't care enough to learn their class again, right? And I used to get so upset over it because I'm like, why should I have to suffer? Because, you know, me being self-centered high schooler, that's what I did. And now I'm thinking to myself, like, I care a lot about these games, I just don't have the time. Like, I am that person that I used to hate. I am it. That's, like, I never thought that I would get to this day. I thought that once I got a job, I'd actually have even more time, but I was very wrong about that. And I'm sitting here, and I'm just so baffled that that's where I am. So why does Blizzard do this? Well, the reason that Blizzard does this is because they say they don't want to confuse players. They don't want a player to log on and completely have a new rotation and out of nowhere be lost, not know how to play their class anymore. And I can totally understand this from a patch, and I always understood this to an extent where, yeah, like, if it's a 6.1 to a 6.2, you shouldn't have a complete rotation overhaul. That's not healthy. But I mean, if a spell isn't being used because it's so bad, I also think that that's not healthy as well. So Blizzard would kind of take that a step further and just be like, no, we're just going to leave it. They've even done that with Demo Locks, where, like, the spec was just so either overpowered or underpowered, they just decided, you know what, we're just going to kill it off, we're going to make it bad, and if people have a problem with it, then they're just going to have to re-roll, because we can't revamp the class that drastically. Just for the simple fact that they don't want things to be overwhelming for the people who maybe don't have the time or just don't care enough to go out and relearn something. But it's also for people who return, you know? Like, I've taken over the last year now, I kind of take a break, come back, take a break. I keep going back and forth, and every time I come back, I try to pick up something new to maybe, like, revitalize my love for the game. So I was playing a warrior for a while, I got bored of that, took a break, and I came back and I said, I'm gonna level up my mage. So I started leveling up the mage, and I got bored of that, and went back to this priest, and every time I kept doing that, I realized that I haven't touched that character for at least an expansion. Like, I started leveling up my mage through Mop, and I think I got to, like, 86. So the last time I actually played my mage at, like, a higher level was Cataclysm. And so I was trying to play a little bit of that. So I'm, like, trying to play it as a Cataclysm mage, but no, that's not how it works. And then I was trying to play it from the Mop style, and then now I had to relearn it from the Warlords of Draenor style. And I was like, screw this, I'm not going to waste my time. I know more about Shadow Priest. So I started leveling up my Shadow Priest, and Shadow Priest hasn't changed a lot, but I still felt so overwhelmed by, like, the fact that, like, abilities that I used to have are gone. The abilities that I have that have still been around have been so drastically changed. Like, things have cast times that used to be instant. Like, it took me forever to realize that Prayer of Mending is a cast time. That's not something I can run and hit anymore. So, I kind of understand now where Blizzard was coming from, where, like, yeah, maybe your class, I've mastered the warrior, right? Let's just say that I'm some warrior god, like, I'm a miniature Asmongold, right? And I know so much about Warrior, and, like, when the next expansion comes, maybe I keep up on the Warrior changes. Maybe I have the time and, or just enough time and care, I guess, to keep up with it, that maybe, yeah, when Legion drops, I'll be able to keep up with how to play a Warrior. But when I go to level an alt that I haven't touched since, Mop, I'm gonna be completely lost. Maybe I didn't keep up with the mage changes, or the monk changes, or the priest changes. So, now I kind of understand why Blizzard has this take of, we shouldn't overwhelm players. Now, that's not being said that changes shouldn't be made. I do think that expansions are the proper time for class overhauls. But I will say that looking at these class previews, which are great, by the way, and we're going to be doing a podcast on it this weekend, it's kind of overwhelming thinking about how many changes are coming to these classes. My favorite healer is by far a monk. I know monks are still relatively new. I played a priest for a lot longer, but I have 3 Mistweaver monks, and I'm going to boast about this all the time because I love my Mistweaver monks. But I played 3 max level Mistweaver monks in PvP in Miss Pandaria because I loved the gameplay. I loved orbs because it took a little bit of skill to place them, and if you're going to tell me that they didn't take skill, you could just click away. But not that they were, like, extremely hard, but you had to have some type of awareness with it, and you had to have some ability to be able to plan it with latency and all the other stuff and, like, teammate coordination. Well, okay. But now that little rant is over, I do miss the orbs. But yeah, so I really miss the monk, and when I went to pick it back up in Warlords of Draenor, it was just so different that I decided to put it back down. So I looked at the class preview and I realized that, wow, they're completely redoing the class. Like, there's no more chi for Mistweaver monks, okay? There's no more fist weaving. I don't channel anymore. I don't cast Soothing Mist and then start pumping out instant heals. Like, I can't, that doesn't exist anymore. It's like some weird new Soothing Mist, and there's no chi, and there's, like, everything's just thrown up in the air. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm still gonna enjoy Monk if I pick it up in Legion, but I'm gonna have to relearn it again. And it's, to me personally, having to constantly relearn all of these classes kind of gets overwhelming. So now, after all of these years, I finally understand what Blizzard is trying to say when they say, yeah, we're not going to change this entire class in the middle of an expansion because we don't want to overwhelm the players. I'm unfortunately now one of those players. But one con of holding out until the end of an expansion is the fact that a class can get really stale. A class could have really big glaring problems, whether they're overpowered or they're underpowered. So one example would be a Divine Aegis from Disc Priest, right? So Divine Aegis used to be able to put little absorbs out on everybody who was healed by your Prayer of Healing. And to be honest, it kind of got really stupid overpowered, not gonna lie. But in Miss Pandaria, they actually ended up removing that, so only your spells that crit could give you Divine Aegis. It wasn't guaranteed anymore with Prayer of Healing. So, while that doesn't seem like it's a really big change, that actually completely changed the flow of gameplay for priests. And priests kind of got screwed over after that. Like, they were still good, but they got, like, really really hurt by that. They had to completely change their entire style of healing, because before that it used to be just pre-shield everything. Like you would cast Prayer of Healing on every group in the raid before you pull a boss, and you just keep rotating, and that's all you did because you were a shield bot. Blizzard didn't like this, so they nerfed it, so you couldn't do that anymore, and it completely changed the entire style of healing. And it changed what stats you were stacking and all this other. It was a complete mess. So that's just one minor example of why Blizzard needs to hesitate when they do major changes, but in the end I think it worked out okay. So let's fast forward a little bit now to current day Cyd, which is today, 2015, November, and the preseason for League Season 6 is out. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a relatively new player to League of Legends, but I'm very interested in learning games and starting over and kind of picking my way through the ranks. I like ranking systems, and I like seeing myself as an individual improve. So one of the things that attracted me to League of Legends was the fact that it was a completely new genre for me. Like, I have played a little bit of HOTS, but like they're two completely different games. And so League of Legends was a new genre for me, and a bunch of friends played it, but it was something new for me to try and master. Like, I know I will never master League of Legends, and I'll never get close. And to be honest, I don't even know how the hell I got placed in gold this season, but I don't think I'm ever going to go much higher than gold. I don't think I can climb into the next level. But just the thought that is a game with a ton of things for me to learn and master is something that intrigues me and it interests me, and that's what drew me to League of Legends. And I've noticed that with every season comes major gameplay overhauls, and the way that League of Legends works is that there's one season per year. So the new season that's coming out will start sometime in January, which will be Season 6. And so between the transition of the end of Season 5, which ended about 2 days ago, and now whenever in January the new season starts, there's a preseason. And that's where you could pretty much test out all of the new changes before you dive into the ranked season of 2016. And I was looking through Reddit, and I was looking through the patch notes and everything, and I realized this is pretty much the equivalent of a WoW expansion. This preseason and Season 6 is basically the new Legion. And I was like, wow, it just makes so much sense, because I'm getting the same feeling now as I'm getting at the end of an expansion and seeing what's coming forth, which isn't a bad thing, because like I said earlier, I like to relearn game, and I like to maximize my my skills and everything else. That's just the way that I am, but I know there's going to be a lot of other people who aren't that way, and so they might take a break and then come back later. Some people, they live for that. That's what they love doing. They love changes because the game can get stale. When there's not a lot of updates, or when they think something's not balanced, they get bored, they'll move on. The good thing about League of Legends is that it's a free-to-play game, and unlike World of Warcraft with a sub, you can kind of hop to it and then take a break and not feel as guilty. So like, let's just say I sub to WoW for a month, I play it for like 2 days and realize that I'm bored again. I just wasted $15. Meanwhile, I can get on, play a couple games of League, and then get off after, an hour and just be like, you know what, I'm not really feeling this right now. I'll come back after maybe. The thing is, Riot does patch often, so maybe they'll wait for a balance change or whatever, but, like I said, most people are in my position where I'm just the average player. I like to learn, I like to improve, but I'm not going to go crazy over relearning a lot of things. So, companies have to be careful when they completely drastically change their game, even if it's like a game like this with a lot of updates constantly happening. Eventually the player base will become accustomed to the fact that there are updates happening a lot, but there's only so much that you can change before a player just says, wow, like, this is not the game that I picked up, a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. A lot of things have changed, and I'm not saying that things need to stay the same, because a lot of times things aren't right the first time around, so you have to change it, you have to update it. But at the same time, like, I'm starting to finally understand why these companies are so hesitant to do that. And it goes back to the fact that gaming is growing at such a large rate. People tend to forget that a majority of these player bases aren't actually that top, those top raters. They aren't the challengers, right? They aren't the professional players. They're the players just like you and me who log on, play some games during the week, and get off. They play it for themselves, they play it to have fun, and they're not having fun if they're constantly feeling overwhelmed about the game. And that varies person to person. I'm not going to say that every person who plays the new Season 6 is going to feel overwhelmed, but coming from somebody who doesn't really have a lot of time, like, that's just how I'm feeling right now. But to wrap this up, because I feel like I'm ranting around in circles, I asked this question to the companies, right? Do you cater to the new or the old crowd? And quite frankly, I think the answer is both, right? They're doing that right now with all the major changes coming every expansion. It's not coming every patch. If they were catering to the old crowd, the ones that are hardcore, the kids that were now adults, that spend all this time, if they're catering to those people, and the hardcore raiders, they would be doing changes every patch, and they'd be throwing out patches like League of Legends. But the fact that they're doing it every expansion just goes to show that they really do try to cater a lot of this game towards the people who don't have as much time or as much passion, all that other stuff. They try to make it a very accessible game, and it's pretty apparent through all of Blizzard's philosophies and all of their games that they are a company focused on making games accessible to people. And if this isn't a perfect example of it, then I don't know what is. World of Warcraft is no longer a game that people spend their entire life on, whether people want to admit that or not. When Vanilla came out, I didn't play it, but that was a game that people devoted their life to. You could play it and not devote your life to, but that was a game that you were able to do that and succeed with it, and it was apparent when you logged on. You would see somebody, you could clearly tell the difference between somebody who had no life, spent their life on it, and somebody else who did it. And that's not a bad thing, and I'm not like sitting here and saying, oh, Vanilla sucked or Vanilla was amazing. I'm just saying, like, I know that that's how that was. And you can't really do that nowadays, which is both good and bad, but it's hard to differentiate the people who are like that. But at the same time, you don't need to be like that. You don't need to spend your life to achieve that epic mount. Like, buying a mount right now is a cakewalk. You don't even think twice about it. Everybody does it. Back in Vanilla, it wasn't like that. You didn't get epic gear. Like, a lot of people wouldn't even have full epic sets because that's just not how gear worked back then. Nowadays, you get epic gear from doing 5-mans or challenge modes or doing PvP. Like, you get all of this really easy epic gear. It's so accessible. It's not as apparent when you look at somebody who does that. So you could play this game, get everything, obviously not as good as somebody else, but you could get everything, see everything, do LFR, and not spend your entire life. That's because Blizzard has designed this new World of Warcraft to be accessible. So people are just gonna have to face it and recognize that most of the core audience of World of Warcraft is casual, and that's how they have to cater their patches. When you look at League of Legends, I don't want to say that they do have casual players, but casual in the sense that there's gonna be players who play League of Legends a few times a week, but the mindset of a League of Legends player is going to be different than an MMO player. That's how a MOBA versus an MMO is. And that's why HOTS was such a success within that own community. It's because it's an accessible MOBA that doesn't attract the mindset of competitive players. I mean, I might get flack for this. I don't think World of Warcraft is that competitive of a game. You have PvP. That's a whole nother LuCyd Thoughts is PvP, and I might do that another day again, but I don't want to really get into that. But you have the PvP, and you have the top of the ladder, but no offense, but it's not competitive after that. If you're not a professional player, I don't think, wow, PvP is all that competitive. It's fun, but I wouldn't equate it to the League of Legends mindset. I wouldn't equate it to Dota. I wouldn't equate it to, like, top CSGO. That's just me. I mean, I wasn't that high ranked in PvP. I played around 2.1k. It's not like I was super high. I played around 2k, 2.1, so... now I'm starting to rant. This is the part of the LuCyd Thoughts where I realize I've been ranting for 19 minutes, and I need to stop. So, to wrap this up, if you have any thoughts, please comment below. If you have any suggestions, any questions, I guess? I don't know. You can always tweet me at BTCYD, at BTCyd. Or you can leave a comment, like I said, below on the YouTube video. I doubt anybody listened this far anyway, but might as well say it. So, thanks for watching or listening, and see you next time.